Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I cut this beautiful snatched waist bustier with a stylish waistline. You can see how beautiful it looks on my client. If this looks like what you want to learn how to make, then you want to keep watching this video to the end, and let's get started. To begin, I will rule out a straight line on my pattern paper, and this line is going to serve as a guideline and also the shoulder line. And then I'm going to go ahead to mark the bust points I'm working with, the under bust, the waistline, and then also the top length. So the bust points I'm working with is 11 inches. I'm going to mark that here. I'm going to mark the under bust point I'm working with, which is 15 inches. I'm going to mark that here. And the waistline I'm working with is 18 inches. I would also mark that. And then I'll also go ahead to mark the top length. So for this top, I'll be using 25 inches for the length of the top. And what I have on my paper here is about 24.5 inches. So I'll be adding half inch to that when I'm cutting on my fabric. So guys, that means we are using 24.5 for the front, okay? So take note of that. So I'll just go ahead to connect my lines, okay? I'm going to be marking the bust points on this side as well. Under bust, waistline, top length, and then I'm just going to connect that. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to label my lines. I'm going to be labeling the bust points, the under bust, the waistline, and then the top length. So guys, after marking our points, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the shoulder measurement I'm working with divided by 2, and the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 15 inches divided by 2 is 7.5. I'm going to mark that on the top part like so. Okay, then I'm going to come down by 1 inch from this shoulder point, and then I'm going to be marking 3 inches for the neck width, and then I'll just go ahead to connect from this point to this point. That's we are sloping the shoulder. Okay, then I'm also going to measure 7.5 inches from this 1 inch I came down by. That's the armhole I'm working with. Okay, that's the armhole measurement I'm working with, 7.5 inches. I'm going to mark that here like so, and then on this point where I marked that, I'm going to be marking what I had marked on the shoulder line. Okay, remember we marked 7.5. I'll go ahead to mark that here as well, and then I'll connect with a straight line. And then after connecting, I'm also going to extend this like so. Okay, so this is going to serve as our chest line. So guys, after that, I'm going to go ahead to measure what I have here, and then I'm going to be dividing it by 2 to create the front armhole curve. What I have here is 7.5. I'll just go ahead to divide by 2 like so. Okay, and then I'm just going to mark what I have on this point, and then I'll go in by half of an inch on the point like so. Then for the bust measurement I'm working with, the bust measurement I'm working with is 36. I'm going to be dividing that by 4. So 36 divided by 4 is 9. I'll just go ahead to mark 9 on this chest line like so. Okay, so let's label it the chest line. I'm going to mark 9 on this part here, and then I'm just going to connect that with my rule. So if you don't have the this, of course you can use your free hand to do this, okay? So after connecting, this is how it looks. The next thing I'm going to do is to mark out the nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with, and the nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with for this client is 4 inches, okay? So I'll be marking 4 inches on the bust point and also on the waistline. So like I said, the nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with is 4 inches. So I marked 4 inches on the bust point, 4 inches on the waistline, and 4 inches on the top length. So the next thing I'm going to do is to connect the points. So guys, after connecting the points, the next thing I'm going to do is to divide what I have here, okay? On this line, I'm going to be dividing what I have by 2, and then I'm just going to mark that. So I'll be marking that here. I got about 4.5 inches. I divided that by 2. I'm just going to mark what I have here, and then I'm going to connect from this point to the bust point. So guys, after connecting that, the next thing I'm going to do is to take my dart, and for this particular client, on the middle part here, I'll be taking 0.75 inches. So I'll be doing that on the under bust, on the waistline, and also on the top length as well. So like I said, on this side, which is in the center front, I'm taking 0.75 inches. So if you are working with a bigger bust size, you can go ahead to take 1 inch on that part. And then I'll go ahead to connect this with a straight line. And also on this side, which is the side front, I'm going to be taking 1.5 inches on the underbust, on the waistline, and also on the top length. So if you are working with a bigger bust, you can go ahead to do 2 inches on this side. So I'll also go ahead to connect with a straight line. So guys, on the bust point, I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch, and then I'm going to be connecting from this point to this 1 inch I came down by on the bust point. And then I'm also going to connect from this point also to this point. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is I'll be coming down from the shoulder line by 7 inches. That's how deep I want this to be. So you can go ahead to use 8 depending on how revealing you want yours to be. So I'll be marking 7 inches on the center front and also 7 inches on this side. And then I'm going to go ahead to connect. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to take 0.75 inches on this center front, okay? The center front side of the dart, I'm going to be taking 0.75 inches. If you have a bigger bust size, you can go ahead to use 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on this side as well. I'm using 0.75 inches here, and it's just fine with what I'm working with, okay? And then for the side, I'll go ahead to use 1 inch. I can as well use 1 inch for on both sides of this, but I've decided to use 0.75 here and then 1 inch here. So I'm going to go ahead to connect this point to the bust point. So guys, sorry about the lightning, the power failure, but I have to continue, so I just hope you guys can see this clearly. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to come up on the armhole here. Okay, I'll be coming up by 0.75 inches on this part, but before I do that, I'm going to be replacing my darts. Okay, remember that we have taken that here, so on this line you can go ahead to extend the line so you know the point you are taking, you are going to measure. So I'm going to be replacing my darts. I have about 1 inch, not up to 1 inch, but it's about an inch. I'll just replace that on this side like so. Okay, and then I'll be going up by 0.75 inches on this part. The reason is because this is going to be like a sleeveless, so that's, yeah, a sleeveless. It has straps and you wouldn't want your bust to be showing at the sides, so it's good for it to go up a little bit. So that's why I'm going up by 0.75 inches here. I'm just going to connect from this point to this point. And then for the center front, it depends on how deep you want your neckline to be. Okay, for me, I'm going to be marking about 8 inches, which is just fine. Okay, so it depends on how revealing you want yours to be here. You can go ahead to do 9. Okay, I'm using 8 for mine. So I'll also go ahead to connect this to this as well. So guys, this is how it looks after that. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to measure what I have from this point to this point, and also from this point to this point, to see if it's the same. If it's not, we are going to be adding more to the part that is shorter. So for here, I have about 4, almost 4.5. I'm going to measure this part as well. So I don't have up to that, so I'm just going to replace. Okay, I don't have up to that on this part, so I'm going to replace that. I'm going to be replacing about half of an inch here, and then I'm just going to connect that back into this line. And then back into my neck depth as well. So you can also go ahead to go up a bit and then just connect. So now we have a new neckline. So if you don't replace this, sometimes when you sew, you find out that the other part becomes shorter, which is not so good, and that's why I replaced on this other side. So this is how it looks. So we're not going to be using this anymore. This is our new neckline. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take the round body measurement. So I've already taken the bust measurement. I will not be adding allowance to this pattern. Okay, we'll be adding our allowance to the fabric. When cutting on the fabric, we'll be adding all our sewing allowance to the fabric. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take the waist measurement divided by 4, and the waist measurement I'm working with is 26, but I will not be using 26, okay, because we want this to be snatched. So I'm going to be using 24 inches. Okay, so I'm going to divide 24 by 4. That means I'm taking 2 inches from the waist measurement I'm working with. So if you want, you can take 2 inches from your waist measurement, or you can take 3 inches from your waist measurement. For this, I'm taking 2 inches, so I'm going to be using 24 inches. 24 divided by 4 is okay. So I'll go ahead to mark 6, and then I'm going to be replacing the dart I took here, okay. This is about 2.25 inches. I'm going to be replacing that here, okay. Like I said, we're not adding allowance, sewing allowance to this pattern. So on the top length, I'm going to be taking the hip measurements I'm working with divided by 4, and the hip measurements I'm working with is 40 divided by 4 is 10. We're going to mark that, and we are also going to replace our dart, okay, on the side. So the next thing I'm going to do is to connect from this point to this point, and from this point to this point. So like I said, you can always use your free hand, or you use your curve rule if you have one. So that is how it looks. I'll also go ahead to connect this. So guys, this is how it looks, okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be coming down on this side by 1 inch to create the bust darts, okay. So I'm going to be connecting from this point to the bust, into the bust line. So this is going to serve as a bust dart. So that is it for the front. The next thing I'm going to do is to cut this out. So please just watch carefully to see how I'm going to cut this out. So guys, this is how it looks after cutting out. As you can see, if you watched this video to this point and you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? And also, please do not forget to turn on your notification bell to get notified each time I post a new video. So guys, this is how it looks after cutting out. So the next thing we're going to do is to take out our bust dart. So just go ahead to cut this part like so, okay, close to the end, okay. And then I'm just going to place it this way. So if you have a tape, you can go ahead to tape this down, but I'll be using pins for mine. I'll just go ahead to pin it like so. Okay, as you can see, this is how it looks. So guys, if you are cutting this on your fabric, do not forget to add your sewing allowance to each of the patterns, both on the top part, on the lower part, on this side as well, okay. And then your sewing allowance on this side, do not forget to add your sewing allowance on this side, okay. And then for the center front, you can decide to cut it as a unfold, okay, as a one piece, or you can decide to cut two pieces. So if you're cutting two pieces, please make sure you add half of an inch, okay, so you use that to join it. So let's proceed to cut out the back. So guys, the back is very easy to cut, okay. I'll also go ahead to draw a straight line on the top part. It's going to serve as our guideline. And then I'm going to take the waistline measurement, okay. So from this, I'm going to place the tape on the shoulder line, and then I'm going to take the waistline measurements. And the waistline measurements for the back I'm working with is 17. Remember, we had used 18 for the front. For the back, we are going to be using 17. That means we are coming up by 1 inch, okay. So you also do that for yours. And then for the top length for the back, we're going to be coming up by 1 inch. We use 24.5 for the front. For the back, we are going to be using 23.5. We are doing that because we have taken bust dart on the front. So if you don't do it this way, it's not going to align. So please do not forget that. Take note of that. So I'm going ahead to mark. I'm just going to go ahead to connect with a straight line. Okay. So this is 17. This is 23 and half. And then for the chest line, I'll be using 8.5. We have used 8.5 for the front as well. So I'll be using that here too. And then I'm just going to go ahead to connect with a straight line. So guys, this is how it looks after connecting. The next thing I'm going to do is to take the shoulder measurement. I'm working with divided by 4. Like I said, it's 15 divided by 4 is 7.5. I'm going to mark that here, okay? And then I'm going to come down by 1 inch on this point. For the shoulder slope, I'm going to mark 3 inches for the neck width, the same way we did for the front. And then I'm going to connect from this point to this point. So we had already taken the chest line, but if you haven't, of course you know that it's 7.5 from this point for the measurement I'm working with, because I had done that for the front. So I'm going to be taking the chest measurement on this line as well, which is 7.5, and then I'm going to connect into the shoulder slope. So guys, this is how it looks, as you can see. So for the back, we're going to marking the nipple to nipple measurement, okay, which is 4 inches on the chest line, on the waistline, and also on the top length. So I'm going to connect that with a straight line like so. And then for the back dart, we're going to be taking ½ inch on both sides. So I'm going to be taking ½ inch on this side, the chest line, and I'm also going to take ½ inch on the top length as well, okay, on both sides of the dart legs. And then I'm going to connect with a straight line as well. So guys, this is how it looks, okay? So for the back, I'm going to take the bust measurements. I'm working with divided by 4. As we have said, the bust measurements I'm working with is 36, okay? Divided by 4 is 9. I'm going to mark that here. Remember that we took ½ inch dart on this side, okay? So this is, if you look at this carefully, you see that it's not the regular way we usually take darts on our piece. But for this particular blouse, I've decided to take it this way, okay? So I'm just going to replace what I have here on this side. So that's 1 inch. And then I'm just going to connect this, okay? So this is the armhole. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go up on this part by 0.75 inches, the same way we did on the front. So I'm just going to mark that here like so, okay? And then for the depth of the back piece, it totally depends on what you want to achieve. But before we do that, let's work on the waist, okay? I'm going to take in the waist measurement. I'm working with divided by 4. Remember I said I'll be using 24. Divided by 4 is 6. I'm going to mark 6 here, okay? So I'm going to be replacing this dart on this side, okay? And then for the top length as well, I'm going to be taking the hip measurements I'm working with divided by 4, and the hip measurements I'm working with is 40 divided by 4 is 10, okay? I'll mark that, and then I'll also replace the dart. So now I'm going to be connecting from this point to this point. from this point to this point as well. Okay, remember we had gone up by 0.75 inches, so I'm going to connect from here to this point, and then to this point. So guys, this is how it looks. So for your back neck depth, it totally depends on what you want to achieve. You can go ahead to maintain what you have here. Okay, you can go ahead to maintain the chest line, or you can just play around it. Okay, so I'm just going to be connecting mine. So like I said, you can decide to do it, give it any neckline of your choice. You can decide to just cut it straight. Okay, you can decide to cut it straight. You can decide to do it any, give it any shape you want. You can decide to make it as deep as you want, I mean. So the next thing I'm going to do is to cut this out. So guys, this is how it looks. I'll go ahead to cut this like so. Okay, so before I cut out the darts, remember that we are going to be using lacing for this. Okay, so it's not going to have a zipper. That's why I did not add any zipper allowance while cutting. So for our lacing, I'm going to be marking 2.5 inches on this top part here. You can decide to use 2 inches. It depends on how wide you want yours to be. And then on the lower part here, I'm going to be using marking half of an inch. And then I'm just going to connect from this point to this point. So we are going to also cut this part out as well. So now you can go ahead to indicate these as your center back and these as your side back. Okay, this is how it looks. So for the back piece, you can decide to also cut this separately, but please do not forget to add half inch round the pattern or when you are cutting on your fabric. But for me, I did cut mine as one piece. Okay, I just closed this up and then I cut it as a piece. So it totally depends on you. You can decide to cut it as a two piece or as a one piece. So that's all for the back. Okay, and then the front. So what I'm going to advise is that do not cut out the shape yet. Okay, cut on your fabric before you cut out the shape. Make sure you cut on your fabric and then join. Okay, cut on your fabric and then join the front and also join the back before you cut out the shape. So please do not forget to share this video, and also do not forget to drop your questions in the comments if you have any questions. And if you want to see the sewing tutorial, please do not forget to share this video. Okay, share it so that it's going to reach a lot of people, and then I'm going to drop a sewing tutorial for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you want to see a sewing tutorial. Do not forget to subscribe. Do not forget to turn on your notification bell if you haven't, and do not forget to give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. So I'm just going to be showing you how you can cut the shape. Okay, I'll be illustrating that on this pattern, but like I said, do not do it on the pattern. Okay, it's better to do it on your fabric after joining. So if you are cutting the shape, you can go up on this part by about 2 inches, 1.5 inch or 1 inch. Okay, it totally depends on you. And then for this part you can go up by about 3 inches like so, okay, and then you connect from this part to this part. Just give it a fine shape like this, and then so you can see how it looks. Then you can just go ahead to cut out, okay. So I'm not going to be cutting this out, guys. I'm going to keep this pattern. I'm not cutting it out. That's just an illustration. If you want to cut yours, you can repeat the same for the back as well. Make sure that you go up by this. If you went up by 2 inches for the front on this side, make sure you do the same for the back so it aligns, okay. And then you go up on this part as well, and then you connect. You can use the front to trace out the back, so it's going to be the same shape, okay, something like this. So guys, that is all for the tutorial. Like I said, do not forget to turn on your notification bell to get notified each time I post a new video. Bye, see you in my next one.